I have what I would call a medium-sized basement fish room with 16 tanks and a handful of breeder boxes. And last year I made a video showing how I maintained all those tanks, as well as my 220-gallon display tank upstairs. I did water changes with a large pump, and while it was way faster and easier than using buckets, it was still a lot of work. A few months ago I made things way easier when I upgraded my drain line and installed an automatic water change system. All of my water changes now happen overnight on a pre-programmed schedule that's controlled by a sprinkler timer. If you missed that video, I'll link to it down in the description. It's been really nice to have. For example, here's a clip of me doing water changes today. But all kidding aside, it still takes some work to maintain the fish room. So I thought I would do an updated version of my video from last year showing all of my current tasks and how I do them. My only everyday task is an easy one, feeding the fish. Having all but one of my tanks within a few feet of each other makes this go quickly. I feed Northfin food exclusively. The larger fish get the cichlid formula and the fry get Krill Pro. It's the best food hands down, and I'll put a link down in the description in case you want to try it. Every few days I go around and clean the waste from the bottom of all the tanks. I've tried a few different ways of doing this, but I keep coming back to the same system. It's just some braided vinyl tubing that's connected to my drain line. In the middle is that blue ball, which is a siphon starter. I squeeze it a couple of times to start the water flow. Since all of my tanks down here are bare bottom, this process is very easy. And the nice thing about the auto water change system is that the water I remove during this process is automatically refilled overnight. If for any reason I take out a larger amount of water, I still have a hose that I can connect to my faucet and fill the tanks quickly. But I hardly ever do this anymore. Since a lot of my fish are breeding groups, another task I do fairly regularly is checking for females that are holding. When I find one, I usually wait a few days and then strip the eggs. My go-to lately has been a dip and pour container like you've probably seen at pet stores. They sell them on Amazon, and I'll link to it down in the video description. Once I've stripped the eggs, I move them to egg tumblers until they're free swimming. My whole fish room is filtered by sponge filters connected to a central air pump. So once a month or so, I go around and clean all of the filters. There are a lot of ways to do this, but I usually just fill a couple buckets with tank water. I squeeze out the filter in the first bucket to get most of the waste out, and then I rinse it again in the second bucket just to clean it a little more before it goes back in the tank. As you can see, these things get pretty gross in just a few weeks. And that's it for the fish room, but I still have to do some maintenance on my big tank upstairs. The main thing is cleaning my canister filters. I usually do this on a rotating cycle. There are 4 filters and I clean each one every other month. This helps maintain my beneficial bacteria. As for water changes, the tank is connected to the water change system downstairs, but I do a couple of other things to keep it clean. One is spot cleaning with my Eheim battery vac. I just do that as needed. And then once a month or so, I hook up my Python for a more thorough cleaning of the sand. I'm not going for perfection here, just a nice once over. Then once I'm done with that, I usually go through with a non-abrasive sponge and wipe the inside of the glass. This just gets rid of the mild haze that inevitably builds up over time. I then add my Seachem Safe and refill the tank. Then the final step is to clean the outside of the glass with some ammonia-free Windex. And that's it. This may seem like a lot, but for this many tanks it's really manageable. I hope you enjoyed seeing the process, and if you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments. Until next time, have a good one.